But I think it really should say appoint Deb to the Youth Services Committee, and it'd probably add as an alternate into that statement, so.
Okay.
That's the only thing I found.
Any other errors, changes, or omissions? If none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I will make that motion, Ralph.
Thank you, Ralph. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Bobby. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. The next item is the acceptance of tonight's agenda. I do have a couple changes this evening under old business on section 7. We are going to table the discussion on the policy on fixing real property assessments until an August meeting when our assessor will be able to join us so we can have that discussion with him. I think it would be more helpful if he was here. And I know he did send some comments and feedback, so we can discuss that at our meeting, a meeting in August. The other item under new business on section 8, after item D, there's refunds of excess payments. I would like to add a new item, which would be the new item E, and that would be on the senior center grant. And then E, the refunds of excess payments, the old E would become letter F. And those are the two changes I have. So, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll make a motion we approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you, Bobby, and thank you, Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. And just so everyone's aware, we don't have a board clerk this evening. Michelle, my assistant, is going to watch the meeting and do the minutes tomorrow with the recording. So make sure that when everyone speaks, we're just gonna have to speak clearly tonight to make sure we capture everything. And also, one of our Board of Selectmen members may be joining us remotely via Zoom. That's Sean Manning. So if Sean does come on, we'll have to get him on the screen, but I don't see him on Zoom right now. So we'll keep an eye out for him. All right. The next item on tonight's agenda is communications and correspondence. I don't have anything for that, so we can move on to public comment. Is there anyone? Hi, Judy. Would you like to come up and address the board and just state your name and address, please?
Good evening. My name is Judy Grippo. I live at 10 Middle Haddam Road in Portland. I'm before the board today because I would like to talk to you about the transfer station hour changes and my concerns. Last year, the changes were made in June. I sent an email to the following selectmen: Mr. Zampano, Mr. Pelton, Mr. Scher, who's not here, Mr. Tripp, and Mr. Pear. The only one that responded to my email was Mr. Pear, who's no longer a selectman. The rest never responded. Mr. Shea, who was the Public Works Department person at the time, I also sent the same email to him. After sending him another email to ask for a response, he finally did get back to me about a week later. I just voiced my concerns about closing on Saturdays for the people that work Monday through Friday and have no way of getting to the transfer station during the week to do our business. That Saturday is an important day for us. Also, if you're doing yard work, you know, leaves, so forth, you start your day at 7 or 8, and by 12 o'clock you have to be done and out of there. I asked him if he had any studies that showed that Saturdays in the summer had a decrease in usage, and he said he had multiple studies but never was able to produce any for me. He also said that they don't go by car count last year, and in his email to me, he said they go by daily tonnage and also revenue. This year, when I read the minutes of the June 1st or 2nd meeting, he stated to the board that 30 to 60 cars were coming in on a Tuesday evening. So last year it was based on tonnage, and this year it's based on cars. So I think there was a little discrepancy in how he presented his information to you and to the public. My concern is, as a resident of Portland, I need access, as well as my family members, to the town dump, as we call it, if you've been here for 100 years, transfer station to the newbies. And I feel that although I'm not against opening up later on a Tuesday to accommodate people that may work on Saturdays, I think that there could be other solutions for residents on Saturdays. Also, it was presented to you in June that it was a summer hour change, but you elected to change it till October 22nd. That's well into the fall. It's well into leaves. Some of us don't have enough bags in our life to bag all the leaves out on our property, so we depend on the town transfer station to take our leaves to the station. So you've extended it not just summer, but you've extended it all the way into the end of October practically. Excuse me, I have some notes, so I just wanted to. I do have other towns that I went to their websites just so that I wasn't, I came with, good information. And the surrounding towns, I will let you know. Glastonbury, they're open late on Wednesdays and they're open all day on Saturdays. East Hampton is open all day on Saturday, 7:30 to 3. East Haddam, small town, late on Wednesdays, 6A to 6P, and they're open Saturday, 7 to 2. They're also open late Monday and Friday till 5. So there are ways to accommodate both working people on Saturdays and also people who work on Saturdays and need to use the dump other times. Higganum, which is a small town, open Saturdays 8 to 3:45 and Sundays 8 to 11:45. And Durham, finally, they're open Monday and Thursdays 8 to 7:45 p.m. and they're open Saturdays 8 to 3. I think the common thread is most of the towns surrounding us are open Saturdays. They didn't limit their Saturdays at all, whether they're Glastonbury, which is, on the higher end of income, or, Little Durham. So I do have some solutions. I didn't just come here to complain. I think that if the transfer station has 2 employees every day, and I'm not sure what the how they have their employees, but if there's 2 employees every day, they can alternate, and one can leave on a Tuesday at 3:30, leaving one employee there till 6 or 6:30 when the dump closes, and vice versa on Saturday. The other person can leave at 12:30, and one person can stay till 3:30, and they can alternate their weeks that way. I think that's a viable solution. I also think that if you're going to run the town late on Tuesdays, the town itself closes at 12:30 on Fridays. That's another option as well. Now, last year, Mr. Shea wrote in his email to me that the town can't, the transfer station needs to be open on Fridays because of people coming from, businesses coming and dumping and so forth. And my answer to that is, I'm a taxpayer, and my tax money should be just as important as a business's. I am pro-business, but I also feel that as a taxpayer, individual taxpayer, I should have access to my transfer station when I need it, whether it be a Tuesday night or a Saturday morning. So I appreciate you letting me come and speak to you. I also would like to say that although the Portland Community Facebook page can get rather dicey at times with comments, I think it behooves the board to plug into that forum, and you will see lots of comments, not just about the transfer station last year, which there were several different comments from people, but also all the issues that are happening in the town. Now, is it always the most polite or politically correct? No, but I think as selectmen, you have to weed through that and get the pulse of the town. And sometimes that's a good way to find out what your constituents want without having to come to a meeting or email you without getting responses. I thank you for your time, and thanks for listening.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
And we can discuss that under Board of Selectmen general informal discussion later, if you'd like. Is there any other public comment in the audience?
I don't see anything in the chat.
Is there anything on the chat? I do have some emails or letters that were submitted to me that I'd like to read for public comment this evening. I have a letter dated July 14th from Judy Thompson at 16 Woodland Road, Portland, Connecticut. It's regarding a potential boat launch from River East and actionable plans. Dear Mr. Curley, I moved to Portland 25 years ago. One reason was the river. I kayak and thought getting on the river every night after work would be fun. Portland Fairgrounds had a beach area that was accessible years ago, but the gate is always closed now, so that is no longer an option. There are 3 marinas in town, and none of them will let kayaks launch into the river. I realize that is not under the town's control, but it remains a frustration to paddlers who just want to get a kayak or canoe into the river. St. Clements and the Meriden Motorcycle Club are not open to the public. The police fire department has a pavilion area that has river access at the end of Indian Hill Avenue, but that is also off limits. I have seen similar thoughts in the River East Weekly publication and can't recall any town officials responding to the request with actionable plans to make a public launch area a reality in Portland. Please share. Are there any plans in progress? If yes, what can the paddling community do to move existing plans forward? If no, what can we do to remove any barriers? Thank you for your consideration, Judy Thompson. So I wanted to share that. I did reach out to Judy and let her know of the plans, and I did invite her to a Riverfront Access Committee meeting. So yeah, but she did ask that that be shared. And I have another public comment that was submitted this afternoon from Andy Bauer at 256 Old Marlboro Turnpike, Portland, Connecticut. Dear First Selectman Ryan Curley, I wanted to publicly commend the persons responsible for bringing the resolution before you, endorsement and support for the federally proposed Equality Act, H.R. 5, 117th Congress, and encourage the Portland Board of Selectmen to unanimously approve it and send it to the appropriate parties. I can think of no higher civic, patriotic duty than to ensure that everyone is treated equally. It's a powerfully unifying ideal, and regardless of how I might feel individually towards someone, it's only right that they get the same deal I get. Sincerely, Andy Bauer. So Andy, thank you for your comment as well. And that is all I have for public comment this evening. Anything else?
There's something on the chat, Kimberly Hanna, says East Hampton transfer station is only open Saturdays only. It does not accept household garbage, 1 employee at a time. It's a safety issue, especially as they collect fees and there is money on site.
Okay. Thank you, Kim. All right, so if there's no other public comment, we will move to old business, and we have our monthly report. It's the second meeting of the month. Technically, it's our first, but we didn't have a first. So the Committee on Solidarity is here. PJ, do you have an update for us?
Yes, I have a quick update for you.
Awesome.
Let's see. This Committee on Solidarity, we had a successful Solidarity Month. We had the Disability Forum. We attended the annual library event. We had the 3rd annual Juneteenth celebration, as well as the 2nd annual Pride celebration, all with great turnout. all with increased interest in people having ideas to help us improve the events in the future and wanting to help out as well. Let's see. We also are planning to get updates to our resource pamphlet that we handed out last year with resources for community members to use, and if they're in need or just need, some help. And we also are working on planning our first responders events for October, which we had some great ideas in our last meeting. And once we get some details nailed down, we plan to present that to you guys next month. That's it.
All right, well, I know you guys were very busy in June, so thank you
tired,
for all,
I'm resting.
thank you for all your work.
Thank you guys for all your.
Thanks, BJ.
Great events. All right, moving on, we have, we are going to continue our discussion on the proposed right to farm ordinance. I'd like to welcome our new town planner, Dan Beret is here for his first Board of Selectmen meeting, and I'm sure it won't be his last. So, Dan, would you like to come up and, I think we'll just start with kind of a recap of where we left off with the right to farm. At our last meeting, we had the executive director of the Connecticut Farm Bureau who was here and spoke. And we've done a lot of research. We've talked a lot about the right to farm ordinance. We had created a draft ordinance, and everything that we've learned so far from this is that this is codifying into Portland ordinances a state statute that already exists. So to our knowledge, it does not conflict with any zoning laws in the town. We would still be able to enforce every zoning law that's on the books. And this would be more of a symbolic gesture as a way to support, the farming community in Portland.
Yeah, so I'll speak to the zoning aspect of that. I did speak with Town Attorney Carrie Olson and confirmed with her, as well as my own review, that we will still be able to regulate agriculture through zoning, as well as enact any other new zoning regulations that the zoning board, planning and zoning may feel is necessary. So yeah, it does not affect what we currently have in the books at all.
Now's your chance, you guys. Ask any questions of Dan.
Dan, have you had any, I know you've been on the job for weeks, not months and years, have you had any issues with people or complaints or things brought to your attention from any citizens in Portland regarding farming or farm ordinances that?
Well, so I did do zoning enforcement at one time for Portland, in my first stint. So we have done agricultural enforcement in the past. Currently, I believe we do have one potential complaint out there, but our Teich Planning, who's doing zoning enforcement for us right now, has not found any evidence of that, so we haven't taken any formal action. These are questions that do come up in the various towns I've worked in. But Portland has its own set of regulations that I think are pretty fair at this point. Obviously, if planning and zoning want to amend those, or if the public wants to amend those, we certainly can. I know at the end of my tenure as CEO, we did reduce the acreage requirement for chickens from a half an acre to a quarter of an acre. That was brought by a citizen who wanted chickens who did not have half an acre. So zoning document is fluid. It's supposed to change with the times, and I think our planning and zoning commission has the foresight and the reason to try to equitably and fairly judge agriculture based on it's certainly strong positive influence in the town, but certainly trying to minimize any negative consequences to any neighbors.
Thank you.
Dan, I think it's my understanding that when we did revise those regulations several years ago, I think Portland is fairly generous in comparison with other towns in regards to minimum acreage for having chickens. I mean, a quarter acre is it's a pretty low bar, right?
Yeah, it's just over 10,000 square feet. that's really a minimum size for our zoning district. The R10 zone is the smallest for houses, so any new home that is subdivided out certainly would be eligible to have chickens. Certainly I think the number is 10 for a quarter of an acre, which should be a reasonable number for, harvesting of eggs. It's not going to allow you to have a full-blown, full-scale operation, but it certainly would allow you to have enough chickens to get eggs daily. It really does vary, though. Some towns are much more strict. I have worked in a town that stripped all agricultural regulations from zoning, except for horses, which did lead to some friction and conflict with neighbors between, say, noise from a rooster or manure smell from larger animals that our zoning regulations do address currently.
Yeah, I stick to what I said the first time we talked about this. I think it's a good, certainly in our plan of conservation development, we talk about the right to farm, so we're just supporting what we have been directed by the public, supporting that document to do. You're not changing what the regs are in place, so they're still there, so the kind of conflicts you might have, I guess, would be the same you would have had regardless of whether the right to farm is there or not. So, I'm still comfortable with our plan to maybe move forward with this.
Yeah, 'cause this isn't strengthening one landowner's rights and weakening someone else's. It still goes by all of our regulations.
Well, yeah, so, my purview is the kind of the town sphere. Certainly, we can regulate things as it was. If say there were, a sea change to loosen the regulations up more, or trying to strengthen something that some people thought there was a weakness, we have the flexibility and ability to do that through our zoning regulations. So I don't want to say it's business as usual, but I think it might on the private side, the civil side of things. I think it strengthens agriculture in that way, but I think, like Ryan pointed out, this is a state statute that's already on the books. And Portland's kind of just codifying that in support of agriculture.
I mean, the only thing that's come up in the discussion is, I know that the idea of it is really making a statement to support the farms, the small farms. And I know you said you have one issue that's outstanding, but I still don't totally get how it prevents someone, if they really wanted to sue someone, that it would prevent that. I think they'd still go after, which unfortunately, you're trying to protect the small farmers from that type of an action, but not quite sure if this right to farm really totally avoids that situation. You still probably have that scenario where someone may want to, is just fed up and they want to, bring it to court, but I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that. I mean, that's not, I take it, and I asked, when she came the other meeting, I asked her about that. She didn't really have a lot of details on that, but that's the only thing. I know we're trying to help those who want to have these small farms, but I'm not sure how it protects them totally if a neighbor disagrees with what they're doing. I mean, I know it certainly supports the regs, and you go off of what the regs are in town, and are you sure you're following them? And they could be following, but if they disagree with the regs, they might still go after them. But
The state statute still exists, so,
Yeah.
I mean, you could sue anyone
Yeah.
for anything, really, but if you don't have, it's gonna come down to, what the law is, and so, I don't know, do you have any comment on that, Dan? Is there?
I don't want to weigh too much on the legal side of things.
Yeah.
I'm not an attorney. So I would leave that to Carrie. If you wanted, I could certainly relay that question for you up to Carrie.
no, I think I'm comfortable. It was an observation.
Yeah, I
That's
guess
what
my
it
only
was.
thought is, you could sue somebody, you can hire a lawyer and they can, file a lawsuit, but how far does that go? Does it make it to court, how far in the court system does it go? Does it make it to a trial or something like that with the judge? In this case, with the statute, like Ryan's saying, and with the town adopting the ordinance, it may stop it in its tracks sooner than it would have normally.
You'd like to think that, yes.
But it does, even in your draft, it does talk about extreme situations where, I think it's nuisance, they call it. It broadens or minimizes what could be considered a nuisance, but still talks about, you know, people can do things egregiously that are outside the scope of what a normal farm would do, and they may violate, you know, it's not just zoning, but wetlands regulations as well in terms of pollutants into the waterways and stuff like that. Wetlands would still have purview at that point if it was beyond the scope of what a normal farming operation would be.
What is the minimum amount of acreage you need now to put a single-family dwelling house in Portland?
So R10 zone is the smallest zone.
And what's the minimum? Quarter?
So that's a little less than a quarter of an acre.
A little less than a quarter?
Yeah, it's 10,000 square feet. So technically, I mean, if you did have a 10,000 square foot lot, you would, I guess, technically be under by 1,000 square feet for chickens, yeah.
I'm just saying, if somebody had bought a house years ago and they're at .24.
2.4, you're fine. 2.4 is
I'd
over.
say .23. If
2.3,
you're just
you're
under,
fine.
if you're just
2.2,
under,
0.22, yeah.
no chickens for that person.
That's correct, yeah.
They wouldn't be grandfathered in or nothing because they,
If they had always had chickens, yes, they would be, they could be. But if you never had chickens, no, you wouldn't be.
okay.
So that may be something planning and zoning wants to look at, but, you know, it still wouldn't, you know, protect somebody who had an older house on a lot that was, you know, done before subdivision and zoning was in place, that was maybe 8,000 or 5,000 square feet. But at that point, you're getting into a pretty tight situation depending on the size of the house, and I think in Portland, that seems to be a smaller number of homes that fall under that threshold, but it is certainly possible. But in the other three zones, obviously, it's fine.
Yep.
But that's something certainly that can be addressed by zoning if you know, anybody who comes into the office, whether it was before, the first time I worked here or now, they have an issue with the zoning regulations, you know, we have a mechanism to change that. You know, that homeowner has a way to advocate to the Planning and Zoning Commission to make that change, and that's how we went from half an acre, I think it was in 2019. Well, no, spring of 2020, I think. That's when it changed from half an acre to a quarter of an acre. And it was just that was the conversation we had was, I want chickens, I don't have half an acre. It was, well, ask planning and zoning, because I think it's half an acre is 20 chickens. Ask planning and zoning if you don't have a quarter of an acre, which worked out for that gentleman at the time, if you could have 10 chickens, and he, you know, he did follow through with that, and planning approved that. So, yeah, like I said, the zoning regulations are a fluid document. They're meant to change. So if, you know, chickens become more and more popular, and planning and zoning thinks it's a safe, you know, viable thing to do on a little smaller lot, we could change that to 10,000 square feet. I don't think that's a huge deal. Because like you said, I think we're talking, what, maybe less than 1,000 square feet between a quarter acre and 10,000 square feet.
Okay, thank you.
And just to be clear, it's a quarter of an acre, right?
So it's 0.25, yeah, you're
It's
right.
0.25.
Yeah,
So
I'm
if you
sorry.
have 0.24
0.23 is 10,000 square feet,
0.23,
yeah. I
okay.
confused myself there,
Yes.
yeah.
So 0.24, you can't have chickens.
Can't have chickens.
So 0.25, you can have 10.
Yeah,
So-
sorry about that. Sorry about that, Julio.
But we can change it to 10,000 square feet.
You
if we
could change it
wanted
to 0.23, yeah. But then there's, yeah, like I said before, I don't think you're gonna get to a size where every single property is covered, but.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah, that would, like you said, if somebody's, not that we have many areas to subdivide in the 10,000 square foot zone left, if somebody was to subdivide, and they got a new house, they could do that, yeah.
Thank you.
Dan, so I know you have read the proposed right to farm ordinance that the board has looked at. Do you have any suggestions for changes to this? Do you, from a zoning standpoint, from a planning and zoning standpoint?
No, I mean, you have the waiver, I think, on page 3, it talks about how this will not affect zoning regulations, wetlands regulations, and their ability to enforce those. So it really, you know, leaves those entities to kind of make their judgment as they see fit, and the public can advocate. I think certainly if there was a different sense in that, I would have an issue, especially on the wetland side. You know, if somebody's piling manure to 10 feet from a water body, that's not going to work. There's too much nitrates and stuff going into the water, and that's not good for the wetlands. So I think as it is, at least from a zoning land use standpoint, I think it's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I guess my question for the board is, do we want to move forward with this? Do we, what we'll need to do is we would need to have a public hearing on this topic. I'm not sure if we should schedule that tonight, or I think we might be best to wait until our first meeting in August to schedule that meeting, possibly for the second meeting in August. So I think that would give time for the selectmen to review the proposed ordinance, one more time, and then we can take action from there. Does that work for everyone?
That works.
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. You can stay if you want to, but
I gotta eat dinner.
good night, Dan.
Roast beef tonight.
All right. Next up under old business is appointments and reappointments to boards and commissions. Are there any appointments tonight?
We have none.
No? Do you have any? Nope.
No.
All right. We'll move on to new business. The first item is a requested letter of support from the Portland Housing Authority for their Section 18 disposition application to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. I think you'll remember at our last Board of Selectmen meeting, we had a presentation on this, and the Housing Authority would like for us, the board, to write a letter or to sign a letter in favor of this. So they actually have a drafted letter that I just want to read, and if the board's in favor, we can make a motion to authorize me to sign this letter. Dear Sir or Madam, I am writing in support of a Section 18 disposition application submitted by the Portland Housing Authority, the PHA, to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. This application would permit the PHA to dispose of its public housing portfolio. The disposition will enable the PHA to provide quality, affordable housing and improve existing affordable housing. The town of Portland recognizes that the PHA is taking bold steps to recapitalize its public housing stock through the use of programs like the Section 18 Demolition Disposition Program. This recapitalization furthers the town's goals and will increase the value and quality of the housing to both the neighborhood and the town of Portland, and we fully support this endeavor. Very truly yours. So,
I'll make a motion for our first selectman to sign the letter to the Public Housing Authority. Is that what it's going to?
the letter, I believe, is going to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD.
All right.
It's PHA's letter
Yeah.
that we're on their side for what they want to do.
I'll second that.
Well, I'll make the motion
Okay.
that our first selectman is authorized to sign the letter.
Nope, thank you. And I heard a second
Yeah, I'd like
from
to
Mike.
second that, yeah.
So we'll open it up to discussion. Any comments on this? I know this has been a long time goal of the Housing Authority. They've been working on this. I think they got held up by the, pandemic a little bit. But, ultimately, they are able to do this, with or without our support. So this would just be us, supporting the project.
Yeah, I thought that they did a really good job of, he did a really good job of explaining the situation and why it made sense to do it, and I support it as well.
All right, thank you, Ralph. And that meeting is on YouTube if anyone would like to, watch that as well, that presentation. It was very informative. All right, should we move to the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. The next item under new business is a potential focus group with the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Education on the school's facilities committee or study. I believe Dr. Britton is here with us this evening. I see him, and can we put Dr. Britton on the screen, please?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you. And
Now we can see you.
I can see you all of you finding a way to beat the heat today. Yeah, so as you know, this time last spring, this board commissioned a committee to take a look at our condition of our current school facilities and, design essentially a 5 to 10 year plan for facility improvements and what the schools may look like over the future years. And I certainly appreciate Mr. Hetrick and Mr. Hernandez's participation on that committee, and we've been hard at work all year. Speak up if anybody can't hear me or can't see me. My screen just went blank. I can't see you anymore. I see the town department logo. Dave, is everything okay on your end?
Yep.
We can hear you
Loud and clear.
And see you.
Okay.
and see you.
Okay, good. I'm gonna keep going. I can't see you guys. I'm hoping this is working okay. So in any event, the committee has worked really hard all year. I'm really proud of what we've done. We've left no stone unturned, I can promise you that. And we have a ton of information that we reviewed and digested and thought really big and had some really creative and I think thoughtful solutions. And I'm really looking forward to the report we're going to put together for everybody about what we think may be the best path forward for our schools. To that end, we've reached a point in the process where the chair of the committee, Lou Pear, and I are on the road and we're engaging different community groups in some focus group discussions designed to gather feedback and input on some of the ideas that we're generating and some of the priorities that we've set forth for ourselves. So to that end, in June, before the end of the school year, Lou and I met with the PTOs in each of our schools. We met with each of the faculties in all of the schools. Over the month of July, we've had 6 different focus groups with community members and parents in the community, parents and guardians. And in August, our goal is to host some focus group discussions. We already have one scheduled with the Board of Education. Lou is reaching out to some other community groups, some seniors in the community and some other constituents. And I would love it if you would be willing to let Lou and let me come and meet with you and run a focus group discussion with the Board of Selectmen. Certainly we view the Board of Selectmen as a very, very important constituency, and we'd love to get your ideas. We'd love to share with you some of the things that the committee has been thinking about and essentially ask if you think we're on the right track or if you would otherwise wave us off some ideas that we're exploring. So that's my ask for you tonight, and we'd love to schedule something up either tonight or in the near future for Lou and I to sit down with you, and probably thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 minutes or so.
Thanks, Charles. So open it up to discussion.
I think that's a great idea. I would look forward to meeting with you guys and sharing our thoughts with the rest of the board. I know I was on the committee with you, and you guys did your due diligence, did a great job with it, and to share it with the board and have their suggestions would be a great idea. So I'm in favor of meeting up and discussing at a later meeting, not tonight.
Yeah, this is Ralph. Yeah, I agree as well. I mean, obviously, you and I, Charles, talked and shared a couple ideas, with you when we've talked about it, but I certainly would like to do it with a larger group. That would be great to hear their thoughts as well.
Yeah, on the committee, so I'm aware of everything that's going on, and I think we all need to have all of our thoughts in on it, so.
And I agree. I think getting everyone together and what you guys have done to communicate with the rest of the town and the other interested groups is great, and I look forward to that as well.
All right, so I think we're all in favor of this. Charles, do you have a date in mind that you would like to meet? Sometime in August, I'm assuming?
Well, I would say that there are only 2 days in August that I would not be able to meet. August 4th and 5th are the only 2 days that I'm unavailable, but otherwise, you let me know what works for you, and I can communicate with Lou, and let's pick a time, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever works, we'll revolve around your schedules.
Okay. So let me ask the selectmen. We do have 2 meetings in August. We have August 3rd and August 17th. would you be open to meeting an hour before the meeting started for a focus group at 6:30? Or would you prefer to have a separate meeting date in August?
I think it'd be easier to have something in the same night.
Yeah, there's enough other nights are tied up with other meetings, so
Yeah.
I'd like to stick them together.
So, the 17th?
Well, the 17th, we were talking about doing that public hearing. So what about August 3rd? Could we do August 3rd? Or is that, I know you're, Charles, I know you were unavailable the 4th and 5th. Is that going to throw you off if we?
August 3rd is fine.
So we could do 6:30 on August 3rd, if everyone's in favor of that.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right.
Great.
Great. Well, should we make a motion for that? I don't know.
We'll do that here.
We'll do that here. Yeah. Where do you want to do that, Charles? Here?
Yeah, I'll come to you, for sure.
Okay. We'll do it. August 3rd, 6:30 PM. Great. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much. I look forward to meeting with you.
All right, thank you. We look forward to it. All right, so we can move on to new business, item C. And this is authorizing resolution for between DEEP and the town of Portland on this steep grant funds for the secondary school track improvements. So as most of you are aware, the town of Portland was awarded a bond for $536 to replace the track at the Portland High School and Middle School complex. And the way the bond council works is that once that funding gets approved, we were then waiting to receive a contract, and it gets sent to a department of the state that is related to the field. And I believe the Department of Education was originally sent our bond, but due to staffing issues, they were unable to do that, so it then went to DEEP, so Department of Environmental and Energy Protection. And so with that, we need a motion to approve us entering into a contract with the state of Connecticut, Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. So if someone would like to make a motion and read the resolution that starts with resolve and then authorizing.
I'd like to make that motion. To authorize a resolution of the Board of Selectmen, Town of Portland, Connecticut, July 20th, 2022. Certification?
Just resolve is where you need.
Okay, you got it. Resolve that the Town of Portland may enter into, with, and deliver to the State of Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection any and all documents which it deems to be necessary or appropriate for a grant in the amount of $500,736 for the Portland Secondary School track improvements. And be it further resolved that Ryan J. Curley, as first selectman of the Town of Portland, is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents on behalf of the Town of Portland, and to do and perform all acts and things which he deems to be necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of such documents. The undersigned further certifies that Ryan J. Curley now holds the office of the first selectman, and that he has held that office since November 16, 2021. In witness wherefore, the undersigned has executed the certificate on this 20th day of July, 2022.
All right. Thank you,
very
Michael.
welcome.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, Ralph.
Thank you, Ralph. Any discussion on this? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to authorize the resolution of the Board of Selectmen, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you all.
Hey, Ryan?
Yep.
We had a question in the chat if that facilities meetings that will be open.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the facilities meeting is open to the public. Any meeting of the Board of Selectmen is always open to the public. So, and it will be on, online as well, on Zoom, and, but we always like to see you in the audience as well, so it's good to see people come in person. All right. The next item under new business is item D, and this is a resolution, endorsement and support for the federally proposed Equality Act, H.R. 5, with the 117th Congress. Now, this had been recently brought to my attention, I think several weeks back, and I believe John is with us this evening, and here he is. John Board is here. Can we put him on the screen so he can talk? John brought this to my attention, and I know he's going to speak on this, and I just want to thank him for doing so. And I'll introduce you. John, you want to take it away? I think we can all hear and see you here.
Yes, good to see you. First off, all is well with you. Oh my God, myself, that's weird. First off, and early members of the Portland Board of Selectmen, thank you for the opportunity to address your board regarding item 8D. First off, my name is John Wood. I'm the former chair of Interim Director, the city's LGBTQ+ outreach organization. Over the last half decade or so, I've been working with leaders across the state to pass legislation and resolutions in support of our community. This includes outlawing the gay panic offense, the formation of the Health Services Network, and having the State Department of Education develop an appropriate LGBTQ+ inclusive education curriculum. However, enough about all that. Let's focus on tonight's resolution. Just a little background on the Act. The Equality Act is a bill in Congress that it passed will amend the Civil Rights Act to prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity in employment, housing, public accommodation, public education, federal funding, credit, and the jury system. So the reason why these things are listed specifically is because because of the Bostock ruling in June 2020, the court said that the Supreme Court said that the Civil Rights Act protects sexual orientation and gender identity solely in the matters of employment, but not in any of these other areas that I mentioned. So with the adoption of this resolution tonight, your community will be the 16th municipality to pass this resolution. Other towns include New Britain, Torrington, Middletown, Essex, New London, East Hartford, Seymour, Roxbury, Wyndham, Pomfret, North Haven, Stonington, East Windsor, and North Haven. So as you see, a wide range of municipalities across the state, from urban to rural, from liberals to conservatives, very much a holistic and wide-ranging coalition. By passing this resolution and sending along a letter signed by the Selectmen, which I'll get you the template for that. You're sending the letter to your congressional delegation will be ensured that when this comes up to Congress, Portland will be heard. Lastly, thank you, Brian, for putting this resolution on the agenda, and I hope there's any questions which the board may have. Thank you.
Thank you, John. So open it up. Questions? Comments?
I certainly know people in the town that fall into all of these categories and support their rights, and whenever ready, I certainly will read this.
Great. Awesome. So, John, I got to tell you, sometimes it can take a little coercing to get some of our selectmen to read a resolution. So the fact that we have a volunteer immediately tonight tells you, I think, that that it has plenty of support here.
I just got one question. This resolution, or this endorsement, is it word for word by Congress, or who wrote this up? Like, who's?
This is John, this is the verbiage that, is this from the actual bill itself, or is this a summary of the bill?
The text of the actual resolution
Mhm.
is language which all 16 municipalities have signed on to. In New Britain, we worked with our corporation council and Mayor Stewart up here to develop this resolution to make sure that it covered everything, that it was all, for lack of a better term, up to snuff, up to legal standards, etc. So this is just a template resolution that municipality by municipality we've been going down the line. And there's I have about 20 of the municipalities lined up still for that will hopefully be coming up behind you. So to answer your question, Selectmen, yes, this is a template resolution that has been looked at by lawyers. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, well, where I was going with this, my only question was, whereas the United States Supreme Court in 2015 recognized the marriage of same-sex couples under the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, the word marriage as well as questioned, or if it should have been to recognize the civil union of same sex. Just the word marriage, I wasn't sure if that was too generalized, or if it should have said like civil union or another word. I have no problem with either one. I just didn't know if that was correct.
Justice Kennedy, in the Redevelopment opinion, used the word marriage, and he used it in a very poignant closing statement to his opinion. So that's why that language is there, because it was used by the court.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Should we introduce the resolution?
I will introduce it. Resolution, Board of Selectmen, Town of Portland, Connecticut, July 20th, 2022. Endorsement and support for the federally proposed Equality Act, H.R. 5, 117th Congress. Whereas members of this Board of Selectmen support the rights, freedoms, and equality of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning LGBTQ+, and whereas the modern history of the LGBTQ community started with individuals who took a stand for human rights and dignity at the Stonewall Inn in New York City on June 28, 1969, and whereas decisive moments in history are the story of the LGBTQ community have put our nation on a positive course to achieving full equality, and whereas individuals of this town who are LGBTQ have made and continue to make vital contributions to every aspect of our town, including in the fields of education, law, health, science, business, research, economic development, architecture, fashion, sport, technology, music, civil rights, politics, and whereas the United States Supreme Court in 2015 recognized the marriage of same-sex couples under the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution, and whereas the Supreme Court of the United States in the June 2020 Bostock versus Clayton County ruled that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 protects sexual orientation and gender identity in the matters of employment. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Portland, Connecticut recognizes that LGBTQ rights are human rights and are constitutionally protected, recognizes that all residents should be treated fairly and equally regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity, agrees that the Town of Portland must strive to ensure that the promise of equality is realized by all, and be it further resolved that the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Portland, Connecticut hereby declare our endorsement and lend our support for the federally proposed Equality Act, H.R. 5, 117th Congress.
Thank you. Ralph, is there a second?
I'll second it. Mike Hernandez.
Thank you, Mike. All right, any discussion on this resolution? I do want to comment that Andy Bauer is here. I did read your letter into the public comment section earlier in support of this. So, And again, I just want to thank John Board, again, thank you for coming this evening, and also for bringing this resolution to my attention, and I'm glad that I was able to bring this to the board. It's a very important topic, and I know everyone here is in full favor of equality in the town of Portland for everyone. So with that, we'll call the question. All those in favor of the resolution of endorsement and support for the federally proposed Equality Act, H.R. 5, 117th Congress, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, John, and thank you, Board of Selectmen members. All right, we can move on to item E. Now is, this is one that we added this evening. This is the Senior Center Grant. Now, for those of you who may remember, I've been talking about a proposed grant with our senior center for several months now, and there's been some resolutions, and we're very close to being awarded the grant. I was told today that there's one item that's left remaining, and that is we need a, in order for us to receive the funding for this grant, and this grant, if we're awarded, the town of Portland would receive $725,000 to upgrade the senior center kitchen, which would have many, many upgrades that would benefit the residents and seniors in Portland, as well as HVAC upgrades, as well as a generator for the senior center that would allow the senior center to be a warming and cooling center as well. And we all know we could use that on a day like today. So in order for us to receive this grant, we do need to authorize that there be a restrictive use on the building for a period of 15 years. The building would have to remain a senior center for 15 years in order for us to receive the grant. So we can't, make all these upgrades and then sell the building. Obviously we wouldn't do that, but that's what the state wants to make sure doesn't happen, and that's understandable. So with that, I would like permission from the board to authorize myself to enter into a 15-year restrictive use on the senior center as a condition of the Small Cities Grant with the Department of Housing.
One question, would that have any effect on keeping the food pantry there?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and in fact, we've actually entered into a restrictive use before. I believe back in 2002, we also had a grant for upgrades, and we upgraded the senior center, and at that time, I believe we had to sign a 15-year restrictive use then. So this isn't unheard of. We've done it before, and I do think it's a worthy cause. I mean, it's a lot of money, and I know it will benefit our seniors in the town of Portland. So,
Do you need a motion for that?
yes, I do. I would like
the
one.
motion that we.
Here, you want to read it?
Yeah. Resolution motion, I authorize first selectman to enter into a 15-year restricted use on the senior center as a condition of the Small Cities Grant for the DOH.
Mm-hmm.
I'll second that, Ralph.
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Just want to read, I just got an email from the Department of Housing here, and they sent me the document to sign. Now that you've authorized, I can sign this document, and we can get our grant. So that's good news. Thank you all. All right, we'll move on to refunds of excess payments.
All right. Make a motion for refund of excess payments for Mark D. Shaken for $44.09.
I'll second that.
All those in favor of refunding Mark Shaken $44.09 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries.
Make a motion for refund of excess payments for Thomas A. Wilson and Christine O. Wilson for $45.55.
I will second that as well.
All those in favor of refunding Thomas A. Wilson and Christine Wilson $45.55 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. All right. Next up is item 9 on the agenda, which is status and committee reports. I'm going to go with, I do want to give an update to the selectmen as well as the town on where we are regarding several projects here in the town of Portland. Today we received some good news from our insurance agency with the town of Portland, that's KERMA. We received our annual members' equity distribution, which is the way that this program works is that the insurance company is owned by the municipalities, and if there is monies left over after the year, they do get distributed back to the towns, to the municipalities. And this year, Tom Robinson, our finance director, and I received a check for $38,994 for this year, which is it's a positive. It's more than we had anticipated, and so that's a good thing for the town. So thank you to KERMA for that. They were here this afternoon, and we got a picture that I'll probably share at some point. And so the next project is the Senior Center kitchen, which we just talked about. I received an email from the Department of Housing this afternoon that says that the award letter for this grant is it's ready to go, ready to be signed by the commissioner. We just have to do that one last document, and we'll be awarded the grant. This has been a long time coming. I know that former First Selectwoman Susan Bransfield had started working on this grant, and it was a much smaller scale at the time, and then it's kind of ballooned to this $725,000 project. So there's been a lot of work that's gone into this over the past many months, and so we're looking forward to being awarded the grant so we can actually get this project off the ground and get to work on it. So the next item is on our town water project. And to Judy, to your point, I do read the Portland community page, and I see the comments, and I do know it's important. People want to know about what the town is doing in regards to exploring water options. And I can say that one of the holdups has been, since this project started, the town, most of you remember, we were awarded a $250,000 grant from the Department of Public Health in order to explore our own water options here in the town of Portland. We first did a request for qualifications, or an RFQ, back in December. We then had an RFP over the winter, and then we had a panel made up of Board of Selectmen and Water and Sewer Commission members that met and selected their preferred engineering firm for this project. And once we did all this legwork, we then had to submit all of this to DPH for their approval. And that's where it sat for several months. And so the reason why there hasn't been much news on this is because we've been waiting to hear back from the state to authorize us to be able to sign this contract. And I just heard back yesterday that the letter is up to the deputy commissioner for their signature, and to expect that very soon. So we may need to hold a Board of Selectmen special meeting once I get that letter to authorize us to enter this contract right away, because I don't want to wait on this. And believe me, they've heard from me quite a bit up at the state, so I do appreciate this moving forward, and thank the Department of Public Health. And we look forward to this project getting underway, which will allow us to look for our own water source, and that's going to be a big project for the town, and I'm very optimistic that we'll be able to find water and get that to be able to be delivered to our customers affordably. The next project that we have going on is our Brownstone Avenue redevelopment, that 248 Brownstone Avenue. I've been following up with DEEP. This is, we're waiting on a flood management certification before the remediation can begin. Deep has to sign off and give us this certification. And again, I was told just the past few days that we should be expecting that certification any day. If we haven't received it now, it's because it's with the commissioner for signing. So again, it's another one where we've been waiting on the state, and it seems like we're about ready to go with that as well. Also, our track project at the high school has been making progress. There was an RFQ issued for that. I believe 3 firms had bid on that project, and then interviews were performed as well. And then we had to wait a little bit while we got that contract from Deep in order for us to enter into that agreement. So that, again, you know, you're waiting on the state. I don't know if you guys see a pattern with this, but a lot of times, a lot of these big projects take time at the state level for us to, in order for us to get to work on our end. And so the next step is an RFP, and that's scheduled to go out very soon. And once we get that RFP, I'm told, I know Dr. Britton is on, I believe it's a June of 2023 timetable that we're looking to be able to repair and replace that track at the high school. So that's going to be coming up soon, and we're very thankful that we were able to receive that funding for that. More good news as far as revenue goes, the American Rescue Act, our second tranche of funding should be delivered to us within the next 30 days or so. That is $1,371,287.14. So I know, you know, funds like that to municipalities don't come around too often, and so we're very thankful that we will be receiving those funds soon, and we'll have to discuss more about that, I think, under general informal discussion. And then I do want to inform the selectmen as well as the residents of Portland in regards to the Brainerd Place project that has been, you know, talked about and for many years. And there's been a lot of recent progress made on that site. A lot of the demolition work has been completed. And the developer did submit a site plan modification to the land use department that has been received by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I believe it's on their agenda discussion for the first meeting in August. So I want to make everyone aware of that. And that is what I have on projects, so thank you all.
Okay, me?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so the EDC and Long Range Capital have canceled their meetings this month, so there was nothing from them. The library meeting is tomorrow. Water and sewer was last week. I was unable to attend, and I haven't seen minutes yet, so I don't know the details, but there is one point that I would like to make with regards to that, is that I do read Facebook as well and respond, but there was an exchange about, which typically happens about now when we see the water bills come out, talking about rate changes and saying my water bill doubled, and there were no rate changes. So I suggest, as we always suggest, if people see that their bill is up, they really should look at the bill from the previous year during the same time period, take a look at their usage between the two, make sure it's the same number of days in the bill, because sometimes with the readings, it's not always the same amount of days. So people get concerned because they'll see it. I mean, I know we had, especially last year, we had a problem where it was, excuse me, it was off by a number of days. So bills were very much off. So they should take a look at that. And not to say there could be a problem with their meter. In fact, the person who brought it up had mentioned they had a meter issue. And there's always that chance that it's a meter issue. But I just wanted to reiterate that there were no rate changes related to that bill. And the last thing is Park and Rec. Concert series kicked off last night. Got rained out the first planned night, but it was a beautiful, though warm night last night, but with the breeze it was okay. And it was very successful, lots of people there, so it was good. Summer camp is going well and underway, and well into the summer already. Let's see, and with regards to the park plaque to recognize the people that worked on the project did go up, I think, over the weekend, so it is on the concession building, so it recognized everyone that worked hard to make that project happen. With regards to the project itself, I think it's in the midst of being closed out, so all of the things that we're waiting for, so people could donate or additional items could be bought for the park, can begin soon because the project is in the midst of closing out. And I don't know if you could tell me any further
So
about that.
I can say that can begin. I did let the Portland Little League know that they can move forward with their plans for their scoreboards now, so I know they've been patiently waiting, so.
Good.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Rob. Any other status and committee reports? Thank you for that comment on the water. That's really important.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously working hard to try to find another solution. I was on the Board of Selectmen subcommittee for 2 years on it, and certainly still engaged with being liaison for the commission. And so I recognize it's painful, the bills often. And so I just would like it to be sure that people really evaluate it correctly so they know whether they really need to reach out to the town or not.
Thank you. All right. There's no more status and committee reports. We can move on to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience? Nothing in the chat? Okay. So we can move then to Board of Selectmen general informal discussion. I don't know if anyone has any, we did hear some comment on the transfer station. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on, I know we were all here, we acted under the advice and counsel of the then Public Works Director, who advised us that there was a very large increase in traffic on Tuesday evenings, and it was very slow at the transfer station on Saturday afternoons, particularly in the summertime. So I don't know. I mean, as far as going on, this is again a one-time. This is not permanent, and but is October 22nd or so? Did that go too far? Is that cutting into people's time raking leaves, things like that? I don't know. We could.
Well, it's funny that we title it summer hours, but we go into October with it.
Yeah.
So that's well beyond summer.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I think Judy made a valid point about the fall leaves and stuff like that, needing the extended time during the Saturdays, because I would say the majority of the residents in town are off on Saturdays, so it does make a valid point. And I think when we get the new Public Works Director on board with us and we get to meet him and stuff, we can revisit this in August, and maybe we can trim back the hours to an earlier time. Like, we can go to, say, the week after Labor Day or something, to accommodate her reasoning, which made a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, we can. I don't know. I'm hopeful we'll have a Public Works Director by then. But I think that's something that we can put on our agenda for August. How's that? We'll talk about. We'll have a discussion and possible action on cutting back and maybe making it end at when summer ends. And not carrying into October.
How much time do we need to give Public Works in order to do that? Like, do they need 2 weeks to adjust people's schedule?
Yeah, I mean, we would want to let them,
Yeah.
we would want to take action in August. If we
Right.
were going to do something that would affect, October, I think would be okay. And I don't foresee any problems with that.
So if we want to change it to, say, the first week of September, we probably have to do it maybe the first meeting in August, or will we still have enough time to do the second meeting?
We'll have to post it in River East also.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, so
Yeah.
maybe we make the
Yeah,
decision.
and I think even the first week of September might be too early.
Yeah.
I work like mid-September probably for this
So
year,
if we
mid
do
to
the
late
second meeting,
September.
then it'll give us enough time to get
Yeah.
Public Works on board, figure it out, maybe we'll have someone on board by then. But if we don't, then we can always make the decision, before then, so.
So, with regards to this, I certainly apologize for not replying on a letter from the public, a resident. But I will say, to the point of why we did this last year, the discussion was, with Bob was, what he talked about was that there was a need during the week to do something to get open hours. And he saw that there was less use on a Saturday, which seemed to make sense to take it away from there rather than, using personnel during that period, use them on Tuesday. And so that was what the decision was based on. I mean, I actually followed up with him a number of times during the summer and into the fall, asking him and just verifying that he felt that, his original decision was still, playing out in terms of activity on Tuesdays and Saturdays. And that's what it was based on. Really, that's what I went on, what we went off of, and I agree with it at that time. With regards to now, I think, yeah, maybe it's true. It gets a little tighter. Summer months are because people may not be around, they're traveling, so they may not have as much use for it, but it is tough with the leaves, because I know that I even hit it in the fall, going, okay, I gotta make sure that I, handle the leaves in the morning so I could get them there. So I certainly support the idea of shortening it at some point.
Yeah, and then last thing, I did talk to Bob Shea about this too, and I had some suggestions with him about having someone from the Public Works Department come and help out, because we all are in agreement that we need 2 people at the landfill at all times. So you would have to pull someone from Public Works for a day. It's kind of maneuvering. It's like a Jenga puzzle here. Like, you gotta get steal this person from here to put it here, so they all get their 40 hours in. It can be done. It just needs a little effort and work, and that's something I'll work with when we hire a new Public Works Director for next year. Maybe there is a way that we can manage to do both, have a late Tuesday and a full Saturday, but it will entail pulling someone from another department to cover a shift while that person doesn't exceed his 40 hours.
One thing we can always look into is if they closed early on like Wednesday, how many people are going to the transfer station at 2:30 on a Wednesday?
It's the businesses that use it, the private businesses.
Well, they got Thursday and Friday
Yeah.
and Tuesday.
I think the best, in my head, but I mean,
There's
obviously,
a lot of things to
pulling
look
somebody
at.
from another department to help assist so that both times can be fulfilled, instead of having to change everything. But Portland is very fortunate that we are open a lot of days, where, like I think Kim said, they're only open on Saturdays, and some towns may only be open like a couple of days a week, 3 days a week. So we are fortunate that we are open 5 days a week. So we will definitely do what we can. We appreciate your comment. Thanks.
Brian, we got a comment that Ralph had mentioned on the summer concert series about the CERT team helping out with the.
Oh, yeah, yep. The CERT team came out for the concert and worked the parking lot. So that is always appreciated, to make sure that nothing goes wrong in the parking lot. So thank you to them for coming out and helping with this series. I'm assuming they're going to plan to be there throughout the series. I'm not positive, but I would guess that's what they've done in the past. So I'm gonna
And they
assume
do
that's
an
what they're
excellent
doing.
job. Yeah, thank you for that. Then thank you Don, because I think he's on here, to Don Goodwin, our emergency management director. And also, so under general informal discussion, I just wanted to get the selectmen's opinion on a couple matters. So one, I touched on the ARPA funding is coming in, that second tranche of funds. So there is a significant amount of funds to the town of Portland that has not been allocated. I wanted to see what this board thought, if we should if we should continue to oversee that use, or if, I think some towns have had ARPA committees that have been formed to look at that. But I just wanted to open that up for discussion to see what the selectmen felt. Do you feel like we can handle that? And if so, I think those items will have to be on agendas coming up where we discuss, best uses for these funds for the taxpayers and residents.
I feel that that's why the public elected us to make those decisions. I don't see the need for a committee to make recommendations to us, and then we debate the recommendations. It just seems like it'll draw out the process more. I mean, I don't have a problem with making decisions or talking about, what we collaboratively feel we should do.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Bobby that the Board of Selectmen we're well capable of making these decisions on the best interest of the town.
And I think if we need feedback from the long-term committees or other committees, we can certainly pull them in and confer with them, but I think we can pull that decision together.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Okay, great. I mean, I agree. I think, Mike, to your point, we can definitely reach out to, the Long Reach Capital Commission, for instance, put so much work into reporting during budget season, and we have that to draw on, as well as various department heads at Town Hall and throughout town, and our boards and commission members. So we'll be reaching out to them and determining, best use for these funds. The other item I just wanted to bring to the selectmen's attention was in regards to the Brainerd Place development and their site plan modification. Now, with this change that the developer is proposing, I feel that we need to at least look at and revisit that fixed assessment agreement between the town and the developer. So I just want to see what everyone's thoughts are on that. I don't have any suggestions at the moment or any changes at the moment, but I think that, given a change in plans, we need to, look at what that agreement said and revisit it and make sure that Portland's still getting the best deal that it can get. Does everyone agree, or?
No, I agree. I can agree with that. They changed their contract, we gotta change ours, or they changed their agreement, we should be able to change ours. Have our lawyers, look at it through and see what's the best deal for Portland. So, yeah, no, I'm in agreement with that. If they're gonna change, we should change.
I agree with that as well, because I was at the walkthrough at the property, and it's completely different from their original plan. They're not moving one of the buildings, they're renovating one of the buildings that they were gonna move and donate. They don't have plans to build the last commercial building as of yet, so it's completely different.
All right, well, we'll take a look at it, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention that, we'll have to look at that going forward. So, and we'll have to see what the Planning and Zoning Commission, does still. The ball's kind of in their court on that at the moment. But certainly this board is responsible for that tax agreement. So that's where we'll pick things up. That's all I have, I think, tonight. Does anybody have any other topics?
I just have a couple quick questions. Since we're close to closure on the park, are we going to be moving forward with the solar panels on the building that we discussed?
We haven't talked about the solar panels at this time. I haven't heard about. We kind of tabled that I think in favor of a larger project still at the transfer station, which is I think if we had the option between the two, I think that was the one that really would have greater benefit for the town.
Okay.
I do want to say, we do have a solar panel project that is almost completed at our Brownstone Intermediate School. So I should have mentioned that earlier under updates, but that is something that is, I believe our building official just signed off on the CO for that like a week ago.
Okay.
And that's going to be online and generating power and saving the taxpayers money very soon. So it's a really exciting project that's about to be completed.
Do we have an idea of what it will
Save us?
save us?
Not off the top of my head, but
Okay.
it's significant.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember the number either. It was a big number, though.
Yeah.
Where do we stand on the Russell Avenue water line and pump station replacement?
Well, it would be nice if we had a director of public works on that. But we did get the quotes from Wright Pierce and our town engineer on that work. The quotes, you know, are with our finance director as well as, you know, but it's gonna just be, you know, until we get a director really to get
Okay.
going with that. But the good news is that was allocated with American Rescue funds, and we do have some time to be able to complete that project. The regulations say that you have to obligate funds by the end of 2024, December 31, 2024. I
Okay.
believe you have until December 31, 2026 to spend those funds. So we do have some time, but we do want to get going with that. But I think we're going to have to wait till we get a director.
Okay. I've been asked from certain people in the public, do we have an interim director right now, or is there, who's in charge of public works now?
Yeah, we, actually, I just signed an MOU today with Mike Lestrina, who's our lead man with the Highway Division, and he's taking care of the administrative duties while we are short-staffed on a director. So certainly thank you to Mike for, you know, for doing that and for, you know, helping out. And yeah, thank you to all the public works crew for, you know, for doing their job and doing it well, you know, right now. And, you know, without a director, things are still working out very well. Unfortunately, we had a water main break. I think the day after, like Bob's first day off the job at 5 a.m., there was a water main break, and that got fixed just as it would, you know, any other day. So so we're getting by, but certainly we look forward to a director coming on board.
All right. Last, is there any agreement with MDC for a reduction in what we have to purchase? Since we're in a drought now, they still are gonna mandate us, you know, to purchase so much for the year, even though they're telling everyone to reduce their use.
I think we had this conversation 2 years ago, and it was the same thing. It's frustrating because they're telling you to reduce, which
Yeah.
is a good thing.
But then they're
But we
telling us.
can't because we are obligated to buy a certain amount of water.
Yeah.
So it's a very precarious situation to be in, and I don't remember, I'm trying to think, I think there was some attempt at that a couple of years ago.
And I'm not talking about a huge
yeah.
reduction, but if it was something, you know, 1% less or so, you know, because it's a statewide drought and they're still telling us to keep using water.
I think what they're telling us is don't use that much this month, but make up for it in September. It's probably.
Just let the shower go a little longer.
Probably with it, yeah, take 2 showers in September and don't shower in July, I don't know. But
Okay.
I could try to look into that, but I just don't have much, I don't
Yeah.
think that'll go very far, I really don't. But,
I'll wait till we have a public works director for my next one.
all right. I always like your questions, Bobby. Never know what I'm gonna get, you know, it's nice. These aren't pre-rehearsed. All right, any other items for informal discussion? All right, I don't have anything for, oh, did you have something?
Nope.
I didn't have anything for follow-up items tonight, so we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bobby. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Ralph.
Thank you, Ralph. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all, and thank you all for watching, and have a good night.
Recording stopped.
Kill me with these questions. Like every time, like, what's he gonna ask?
But it looks good to the public. It keeps you on your toes. Shows that you know things.